Come take a seat. We're going to talk about preventing office burnout and or video fatigue. We've all felt it, the exhaustion that comes from back-to-back calls, and it can be daunting. Now that we've been engaging in hybrid working for over 2 years, we've learned some easy do's and don'ts to avoid burning out. So please welcome David Doncho from the IMCCA to tell you how to avoid burnout.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all three of you coming here to hear this today. I'm not going to take a lot of time, as you guys can take a look at the schedule there on the left. I'm it. When I'm done, the sessions are over here for this stage. So it's my pleasure to do this. I was going to have 3 guests, but they all flew home already. So we're just going to go through the facts. First of all, this is me. If anybody wants to get in touch with me on my social media or my email, if you'd like to get a copy of this presentation or any of the presentations that we did, I'm happy to make them available to you. And if you haven't checked out the team at the IMCCA yet, please go over there and take a look. It's the Interactive Multimedia and Collaborative Communications Alliance. It's free to join. We do a lot of the educational sessions for this show and others, and we're happy to help move the industry along and go forward. So what was the first term we heard this called? Was this called Zoom fatigue for a while because people had just started learning about Zoom? Then it was video fatigue or meeting fatigue. You know, we've been talking at the show at all of our sessions about how much hybrid working is the future and how we're all going to be working from home and commuting to offices less and less. But this is a real downside. These are articles that ran around how real it is and how difficult it is to get through this issue. And it happened for a reason that none of us were prepared to understand. When we are home and working remotely, there's a lot of differences around that type of work versus the work that we would have in an office. First of all, we're scheduled typically for back-to-back meetings. So we might be meeting for, I don't know, start at 8 o'clock in the morning, end at 4 o'clock, and have them go back-to-back, and we don't really have a sense of timing or day. In many cases, people have their workstations in a place that don't have windows, so we don't know what's going on. We're also typically hunched over a PC like this, and we're working and we're looking, and that's not really very good. You get a lot of eye strain staring at one screen. The tasks aren't variable. When we're at the office, we'll go get a cup of coffee, we'll go to lunch, we'll go to the restroom, we'll do all kinds of little things that at home, for the most part, we're not typically doing. There's also, with no commute, with no fixed lunch hour, with no colleagues tapping us on the shoulder, we may be just sitting at the desk until we get exhausted. And in many cases, and this is something we talked about at a couple of the other sessions, there's no dedicated place to go to at home, so you don't feel you're at work. You're just working from wherever you happen to be. These are the most basic steps to prevent video fatigue, to prevent home office fatigue, and being tired about this. The first thing is use your calendar. Don't just have people put meetings on your calendar, put things you intend to do on your calendar. So if you know you have a report to do, if you know you have to go to a website for a personal reason and buy tickets to the Springsteen show that's coming up or do anything, put those tasks on your calendar so people cannot take your time by inviting you to meetings when they see that there's space there. Get up. Get up from your desk. Go feed your pets. Go outside and walk around for a little while. Go get something to eat in the kitchen. Go to one of your local stores. Get up and move. Take time during breaks. Don't keep sitting there at your desk. Design an optimized home workstation is actually really very important, where you want to make sure that where you're working is something that works for you. I'm up to 3 screens on my home office. I have one where I'm doing presentations to the remote side. I have one where I'm always keeping an eye on my email and my calendar and anything that's going on. I have another one that I have web browsers on, and I'm actually really ready for a 4th. I can't manage with even just the 3, so that's an important thing. It's important when you're working from home to understand that you're working and follow a standard schedule. Don't just flop into it when you get out of bed, or if you normally go to your desk at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. every day, go to your desk at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. every day. Have a desk, have a place where you work, and go to it so that everyone in your family knows you're working, and leave it when you've stopped working. You can still answer messages on a mobile device, but by all means have a place that you go to that's conscious. And honestly, have some fun. don't just be at work working when you're working from home. I'm going to get into that into a later slide, but we're coming into a time where the idea is not so much work-life balance, but it's becoming work-life blend for a lot of the knowledge workers and professionals. And I'll get into that a little bit more later, but having some fun during the course of a business day is actually really encouraged by a lot of organizations that aren't counting your keystrokes and making sure you're at the computer. There is an article that we published about how to design the optimal workstation. If you take a look on the screen, the tinyurl.com 12-step work from home, that's in Commercial Integrator. That's a digital version of it available right there. And I'm not going to go through the details right now, but there are some really good designs about what you should take into consideration when you're setting up a workstation from home. All of it is detailed in that article, so by all means go and take a look at it and go through it. And there are a lot of good pieces that you wouldn't normally think of. You wouldn't normally think of lighting. You wouldn't normally think of cameras at the right level. You wouldn't normally think of having a window to the world. My office at home is in my basement. And in my basement, I don't know if it's daytime, I don't know if it's nighttime, I don't know if it's raining. So what I did is I put an IP camera out the front window, and I have one of my old iPads showing me the camera all the time. I know when the mail comes. I know when it's night and I need to get up from the desk and do things. So all these things let you be more of a human being. And it's very important. So again, those tips, I'll go backwards. That's that tinyurl.com 12-step work from home. It was in the June Commercial Integrator in the Collaboration Today and Tomorrow section that I edit. It's a great article to follow. We've also, the IMCCA has a webinar that we did when the pandemic started to go through a number of these tips. If you go to the imcca.org website, you can follow the menus down under Resources 2020 Pandemic Support, or there's the YouTube link to it directly. Some really good professionals in the industry letting you know what the tips would be and how you take care of it. So that's another good resource to use. The last point I'm going to make here is really what's kind of changing in the industry that we're in. Oh, by the way, if anybody's here and listening and staying and would like to actually win a work from home kit, I've got one to give away. So you just have to come in over here and raise your hand and you're the winner. Free camera, free speakerphone, you come and join us. The video fatigue is creating a situation, all of this remote working and hybrid working, where work-life balance is not the future. It's really becoming work-life blend. What I mean by that is, when the Avengers Endgame movie came out, I was at the movies seeing it during the workday, and I had no problem doing that. Neither did my superiors, my bosses, neither did the rest of my company, because when they text me today on a Saturday to make sure that I'm available to give a presentation, I don't have a problem with that either. The 9 to 5 thing just sort of doesn't exist anymore. We're all sort of always at work and never at work. And it's not something for everybody, but if you can manage that blend, if you can manage the idea that my colleagues in Europe and my colleagues in Asia are going to send me messages in the evening, and I'm going to be available for them because I want them to be available for me for my project, that I want to be available to my colleagues, I'm kind of in an always-on situation with my mobile devices, but that also means I'm always off. That means I can watch my kids play at school or go to that movie or do shopping during the day. And I'm not being measured by the hours I'm putting in at a desk. I'm being measured by the output, the outcomes of what I'm supposed to do. And that's really where we're going in terms of the knowledge worker. And when you've got that down, when you feel comfortable that you don't have to be locked at a desk all day, you only have to be at the meetings that you need to be at, that's when you've achieved that work-life blend. And that's when you're not going to feel so much Zoom fatigue or meeting fatigue because you're the one managing your own hours and your own schedule. Really works for me. I've been doing it now for I've been working from home for nearly 2 decades, but I've certainly been managing it in this style for the last few years through the pandemic, and it works beautifully. And you have to have the right job, and you have to have the right supervisor, and you have to really be good at what you do, because if you're not, the rest of it doesn't matter. But moving into this concept of work-life blend, that's definitely where the future is and how to prevent video fatigue. So that was my last slide. Any questions from anybody? Does this resonate with anyone? Anybody want to win a work from home kit? Here's my colleague Andy giving it away. Make sure you take a picture. I'll take a picture of the two of you.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. So thanks very much. Again, if anybody wants any of these slides or any of the other IMCCA presentations that we gave here, just let me know, email me, and I'm happy to take care of it for you.
Perfect.
Thanks very much. Have a great trip back home.